Oh, what is up? How's it going? Thank you so much if you've been here before and if you're listening to more than one episode. Then I just genuinely want to take this time to thank you. I appreciate you so much, and it means a lot to me that you find some value in what I'm doing that brings you back to listen to more of what I have to say. And if you're here for the first time, welcome to By the Rules. I really hope I'm able to inspire you or do something or create some value for you through this short conversation, or rather a monologue, because this episode is it's just going to be me. So while I was thinking about what I want to speak about this week, it's actually inspired by something that recently happened, and it just made me realize that there's so much value in just talking about this and just sharing this with anybody who's listening. And I think it's a very common experience, but for some reason we don't talk about it, we don't ask for help when we need it, and that is exactly what I'm going to be talking about. And in many ways, the reason that I started By the Rules was to be able to contribute to people's emotional well-being in whatever capacity I can, even if it's by having these seemingly insignificant conversations. I mean, like, who gets into a room and discusses about how to move on from careers, or breakups and stuff like that. We don't generally engage in huge ass conversations like that. And for me, that was the idea that, why are we not talking about things that really matter, things that, have become a part of our common experience. So yeah, with regards to that, what I realized that while I'm doing this, it's actually a bit ironical that I haven't really openly shared about my own mental health journey. And while I am no advocate for, mental health, because I'm not a healthcare professional, but I think I am very much human, and I'm very much, with you in these common experiences that sort of yeah, make us one in a certain sense. Like, what I've realized is that you can be having the worst day ever, and you can be dealing with whatever it is that you're dealing with. But the fact that you're not the only person, you're not the first person who's going through that, and you're not going to be the last person who's going through that, that is something that brings in so much sense of normalcy around mental health and emotional well-being. And that is exactly what I want to address in this conversation. Just for a little bit of context before we get into it completely, is that so the beginning of this year, I was going through a personal crisis, and that is when I realized that, okay, I do need help. And before that, I would say that I was pretty sorted in my head about things that matter to me and where I want to go in life and all of that. So I didn't really think that I need help. But when I realized it, I think that is one of the best decisions that I made in my life so far. It's not been very long, but it's almost going to be close to one whole year that I've been in therapy. I have, somebody who's a professional in helping me get over whatever my mind tries to play with me, and just organizing and structuring my life in a better way. And of course, like, anybody who's listening to this, I 100% recommend therapy. Even if you think you're sorted, even if you think you're too cool for it, trust me, I used to. And you'll just find out so much more about you. And I think from my own journey, that's the biggest thing that I have gotten out of, and I will continue to get out of, that I know myself so well that nothing externally happening now has the capacity to fuck with my head the way it could earlier. So, anyway, the reason that I want to talk about this is that ever since I've started my mental health journey, I haven't really spoken about it very openly on this platform, on By the Rules. Of course, my closest friends, and regardless of whether they live around me here in Paris or whether they're in different parts of the world, they have been with me on this ride. They have, seen me struggling, they've seen me fighting, they've seen me sort of come back from what I would call the lowest point in my life. And it's been a beautiful journey, because it teaches you so much, not just about yourself, but also about the power of community and the power of friendship and the power of belonging. And that is exactly what I want to sort of bring out through what I'm going to talk about. So a few days back, I had one of these episodes where, my I just spiraled, okay? And by that, I mean that I felt exactly how I was feeling during the beginning of the year, which, like I said, was the lowest point in my life. And I absolutely didn't know how to get out of it. And that was during a weekend, so it started, say, Friday night or Saturday morning, and it went on till Sunday evening. I don't know if there's a correct terminology for it, and I don't want to use terms loosely. So I don't know if that was an anxiety attack or it was a panic attack or whatever. Yes, of course, there was a trigger, and that showed me parts of me that still need work, that still need to sort of get a hold over yourself, kind of a narrative. I've worked on myself for, say, what, 8, 9 months now, or more actually, like 10 months. And I see the progress, I see that I've moved forward from where I was, and I'm doing much better. I'm doing much better emotionally, mentally. And that is what matters to me at this point, is to have like a calm mind, and to be able to navigate all situations the way they come. Because of course, there's going to be things in life that keep coming at you, and it's on you how you choose to dodge it. And these are skills that I've developed over the last year, I would say. And so when something like this happened that sort of pulls you exactly back to where you were, it's shattering, it's like, and in my head, I'm not going to mince my words. In my head, I was just like, what the fuck is happening, and why the fuck is this happening now? Why is this happening now, when I finally feel that I'm moving forward, and I'm, starting to get a grip over myself, and I have some sort of control, or rather the illusion of control. And it was devastating, because for anybody who can relate to what I'm saying, you feel helpless, man. You don't know what the fuck to do. You don't know what's going to make you feel better, and you don't know how to get yourself out of there. And for me, proper trigger warning, these were very intrusive thoughts. Like, I was starting to question the point of life, and I was considering if my life is even worth living, and thoughts like that. And for me, it's important to be very vocal about this, because I know I'm not the only person who's felt like that. And the rational part of my brain was like, babe, chill, like, calm the fuck down, nothing's happened. I know these are thoughts, these are fleeting thoughts, and my mind's just fucking with me. But regardless, that was a thought that, I was. Luckily, I've never really acted on these thoughts. I've never really. I don't believe, none of me believes that my life is, worthless or easy to throw away, in the simplest words. But then again, these are thoughts that I was having. So there's no point fighting with yourself, but because, like, ultimately it's just you against you, kind of a narrative that's happening inside. And at the same time, it's difficult to deal with something like that, I mean, I had no clue how to feel better. And then, to sort of add to it, I was also kind of homesick, because it's Diwali, it's the festive season, and you just miss your family, you want to be around them. And there's other factors, like, things are not really uh, going the way you would have liked them to, in terms of career, in terms of projects, and all of that. And then I was also alone. Like, normally I live with somebody, so there's always kind of somebody around to, just talk to whenever I'm feeling a bit off, when I'm feeling not my 200%. Then I'm very grateful for him, but my flatmate's not around at the moment, so it all sort of added up. And of course, the biggest thing that I think is also monumentally playing a role is the fucking weather, because I do not like it when it's grey, and it just sort of, adds to the melancholy, and it makes everything so gloomy and all of that. So basically, all of these factors was making it very difficult for me to sort of pull myself out of that spiral. So what I did was that I started calling my friends, and I called my the people I trust, the people who've always made me feel safe, and I started telling them. I started to try to, explain to them how I'm feeling, and some of them were available, some of them weren't available. And it's so beautiful that by the end of the day, like, I will never forget this incident, because my friends, like one of my friends and his wife, they drove like 40-45 minutes. They live a little outside of Paris, and they came all the way just to, support me, just to be there, just to talk to me through it. And other friends also who live close by, they just came throughout the weekend. People were just coming in. I was going to their places, and it's the same story, like I'm just telling everybody that, okay, this is happening. I'm trying to name my feelings. I'm trying to just talk about it so that it doesn't feel so heavy by itself anymore. And while they very much know that, they probably cannot find a solution to how I'm feeling, the fact that each one of them just stood by me and sort of built that sanctuary around me where I could just feel whatever I was feeling, that's what pulled me out. I mean, I am so fucking grateful. And in this whole process, what happened was that my one of my friends, Tabinda, she was like, it's so brave that you're just asking for help. And in my head, I never saw it like that, and I was really, is that what you think? And actually at that point I was like, okay, then, we should talk a bit more about this, because and then we started having a conversation about it, where the other person, their experience is that they feel very vulnerable, or they feel very uncomfortable asking for help. And to me, that just sounded like, oh my God, you're missing out on so much. Because, as a friend, as somebody who wants to support the people I love and care about, and it's not limited to the people that I love. Even if a stranger comes to me asking for help, I will do my best, because I think inherently that is my human nature, and I would like to believe that that is everybody's. But we had a conversation about it, and I realized that it's not just her. Probably me, the same me, like, 3 or 4 years back, I wouldn't be so open to asking for help. I wouldn't want people to know what I'm going through, and I wouldn't want to be seen as somebody who's weak, as somebody who's vulnerable. So when my friend pointed it out, that at that point I was just like, okay, so, just like I am so happy that you guys are here, like you could have been doing anything that you wanted to. And, another friend, she just slept over at my place just so that I feel safe and I feel okay. And at no point was I made to feel like there's a hurry. And, at no point was I made to feel like, okay, it's been a while now and you're not supposed to feel like this. So I think that kind of safe space and that kind of emotional intelligence is also something that we all need to develop, so that to be able to be there for another person in that capacity. Because I'm being honest, if I didn't ask for help, I don't think I would have, like, Monday, let's get back to it kind of a thing. Because because it's exhausting to do it all by yourself. Yes, great, do all of your self love, self esteem, blah blah, and all of that, full support. But just have the cognizance and just be aware of the fact that none of us are strong enough to keep doing that every single day, and it is okay to ask for help. In fact, just yesterday I was speaking to a friend, and it's so funny because we've only sort of met for the first time in our lives like a month back. And clearly, they were also struggling with something. And yesterday, they reached out to me because they just needed help, and they just needed to be around somebody who's, like, who can make them feel safe. And that's exactly what I needed when I was going through a difficult time where I felt like everything's falling apart and all of that. And this wasn't even like years back, this is like last fucking week. You can be the strongest person in the room, but we all know that, we need help from time to time. And this is my request. This is I literally want to fold my hands and tell you guys that please ask for help. And most of the times, we don't even expect them to do anything. You just need somebody to hear you out. You just need somebody to, warm up to you, because with everything going on in the world also right now, it's just difficult to live in times like these. And the more we try to isolate ourselves, the more we try to believe that, oh yeah, I'm just singular and whatever else, I've got this. Great if you've got this on 90% of the days, but for those 10% where you feel like you could do with a little bit of help, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be your family, it could be your siblings, cousins, a parent you trust, somebody you can confide in, your close friends. It doesn't matter. Or even like, a therapist. That would be great actually. But I do understand that it's not accessible for everybody all the time. And friends can be great. I don't want to use the term therapists, but you know what I mean. That you just sometimes you just need a shoulder to sort of lean on. You just need somebody to listen to you and validate what you're feeling, and not make you think like, am I crazy for having these thoughts, and am I losing it, those kind of thoughts. And it's normal. I'm saying these things because I've thought of these things. I've worried about these things. Just this thing that my friend Tabinda said, that it's very very powerful to ask for help. That is the empowerment that I want to bring to you who's listening to this, that it's okay to let people know that you're doing poorly on some days. It's not a permanent state. And and to in fact, in order to get out of it, it's more important that you sort of bring it out on the table, deal with it, and then sort of let it dissipate, or slowly dissolve and move away, and just move on to a better state of being. And I think something interesting also came out through that conversation that we were having, was that the reason that we do not ask for help is we don't want to appear as somebody who's weak, as somebody who's vulnerable. We feel ashamed. We think that why would somebody else want to listen to my problems when they've already gotten theirs? And this is the most dangerous, in my personal opinion, that we think we're strong enough, we're cool enough to deal with everything. I think that is a false sense of ego, pride. That is a false sense of, ever since I started my mental health journey, I've been reading a lot of books on psychology and understanding human behavior. And I'll just put it out there that any sign of hyper independence also comes from childhood emotional neglect. So whatever you're trying to prove to whoever, it's not really worth it, because that is a wound that you really need to sort of start healing from and do that work and move forward. It's great to see people who are independent and fierce and strong and all of that, but anything excessive is actually detrimental to your own well-being. I mean, nobody else is going to know what you're going through, because you're fighting with yourself to prove to yourself that you've got it under control. And why do you want to do that? It's okay to be weak. Nobody's going to judge you, and you're not going to be labeled as a weak person for your entire life. In fact, when my friend said that it was a strong thing to do, that is when I actually changed my perspective around it. I was like, this is actually true. How many people actually, are open enough to tell everybody what they're dealing with, and in such, crass terms, that yes, I feel I have these thoughts of dying. It's absurd. I mean, and of course it takes a lot, and I do recognize that, I do realize that, and it's important for me to talk about these things. I think anybody who has ever struggled with mental health has had these problems. And of course, and I am nobody, I'm not a qualified professional to advocate on mental health. What I'm speaking is through my own experience, through collective experiences, through the experience of friends who are really close to me, who have confided in me and found the support they need, and whose support I heavily, heavily, heavily rely on. it's always a good idea to, like keep your emotional and mental health regulated and have these regular check-ins with, like, even when we're sitting with friends, it's okay to have a deeper conversation sometimes, like we cannot always be happy. In fact, study shows that happiness is actually a more temporary phase than any other emotion in our lives, which is why, like, there's so much sort of focus on happiness as a state of being, because it's not common. It's as simple as that. I really want to urge you, the next time that you're dealing with something, just pull somebody in to be with you on that ride. So, just to wrap this up, the only one thing that I want to bring out in this conversation is please, please, please ask for help. Ask for help wherever you think you can get it. Even if you think you're not going to get it, ask for it. Get into the habit of telling people very openly what your struggles are, and of course choose your audience wisely. And that is a no brainer. That at this point it should also be common sense, because if if you go to the people who triggered you in the first place, and I'm sorry to say, in a lot of circumstances, it could be your closest family and friends and partners. So be sensitive to what you need and where you need it from. Know that people want to help you, and trust me, as somebody who's been on both ends, the giving and receiving, there is no greater joy than being with somebody in their time of need. There is nothing that makes you feel happier and more purposeful as a human being when you're just able to be, and that's enough for somebody to feel better. So be that person for people, ask people to be that person for you. And if you know somebody who's struggling with mental health, then take that little bit of extra responsibility to check on them, to check on how they're doing, and just tell them that you're there for them. Be a partner in whatever they're going through, because if we need to collectively heal, then we need to collectively stand together also, right? I hope you're doing a little bit better than how you entered listening to this today. If you're already in a great mood, I hope I have been able to sort of enhance it with a lovely conversation. And if you weren't really having the best day, then I hope this gives you some hope. I love you. I really appreciate that you're here, and I cannot wait for you to be a better version of yourself.